Well, thank you for joining us again. You've been
Yeah.
a supporter of men's health initiatives, not just through the Drive for Men's Health, but globally. I mean, you serve on the American Society of Men's Health Board of Directors, and you guys are doing some great things there. And you're just a big men's health advocate. So
Well-
why though? Why do men need that encouragement?
Well, first of all, we know men in America on average are living about 5 years less than women, and this has been a trend that's been going on for literally decades now. And so the status quo isn't working, and we really have to learn new ways to approach men's health, be more effective with our patients so that we can start to see some better results.
Yeah. So what better results do we expect to see?
Well, I think some of the results is life expectancy. I mean, it's going to take some major changes, but it's all snowballing from obesity to diabetes to then other consequences of men's health, such as low testosterone and other issues that are markers of poor health. And so if we understand how these things are occurring and then how we can reach out to men to address those issues, hopefully we will be able to see improvements in life expectancy.
So you mentioned testosterone could be a marker for poor health.
Yeah.
How? Because I thought everyone just naturally goes down. But
Well-
but guys,
Well,
if it's
we've-
down, then it's actually I may have something else going on internally.
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about testosterone in general. I mean, it is true that levels do tend to drift down. It may not be as significant for a lot of patients, but there are certain men that do become symptomatic when that occurs. And we've learned that some of those men are the very ones that have other significant systemic diseases, especially diabetes. And with regards to other male sexual dysfunction as a marker of cardiovascular health, we've kind of been putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to have a better understanding that most of the issues that we're dealing with in urology can be reflective of overall health. Same with infertility as a marker of
So
current
when-
health and future health.
So when should a guy get his testosterone checked?
Well, the recommendations are not for general screening. The Endocrine Society guidelines, they do not recommend standard screening like we do for cholesterol. So it's really those patients who are at risk, either based on their other medical conditions or if they're symptomatic.
Which are?
Most of it's symptomatic issues,
What are some of the
fatigue, weight gain, low sexual desire, erectile dysfunction. So there are a lot of urology-specific conditions that might be a marker of low testosterone. But some of the new AUA guidelines also talk about other conditions of people who are asymptomatic that may need to be checked, such as men with diabetes, even if they don't have any fatigue or erectile dysfunction. So there are other systemic conditions that you may want to think about checking testosterone. And if you have those conditions, maybe asking your doctor about whether or not you should have testing.
So you mentioned doctor, but there's all these places you can go online and get testosterone. There's all these men's clinics that market, Botox and testosterone, all these things. Like, is that a good avenue for men to go to?
Well, first, I'm happy that men are even thinking about their health at all. So I do think it's important for men to think about their health. And this is one example if they go to seek advice. I think that's one option for men to seek advice. But then I also think that some of the testing that's involved with testosterone can be real tricky, and not all labs are really set up for accurate testing. And some of the most accurate testing is fairly expensive, and so some of these clinics may not have the equipment to do proper testing. So I think that if you have symptoms of low testosterone, you should probably initially talk to your primary care doctor. I mean, really, men should have a primary care doctor that they're seeing, once a year. If you're young, maybe once every 5 years, depending how your blood pressure and cholesterol looks at age 20. And I think that's probably a route I probably would recommend, because that's a real longitudinal relationship with your primary care doctor. And most of these men's health clinics aren't quite full primary care clinics.
And they may or may not, follow the appropriate guidelines. So I always say, hey, you should go see an expert that has been doing this and make sure they're credentialed appropriately. So 3 tips for a guy to help them get that extra mile out of their life.
Well, men are interested in their testosterone levels. So even though we don't screen for it, I think there are general recommendations that every man can do to boost their natural testosterone. And so that's going to be focusing on diet and exercise and weight resistance training. We know that especially weight resistance training can really be effective at boosting natural testosterone, and even losing 5 to 10 pounds of weight. There are studies showing that that boosts testosterone naturally. And so these are basic concepts. There's so many other health benefits from diet, exercise, and weightlifting, but when it comes to testosterone, which a lot of men are interested in, I think that's at the top of my list. And then certainly I think the other thing that is very underrated is sleep. And I know a lot of your visitors here have been talking about sleep
today. Everyone.
But it's something that so many patients are not getting enough sleep. So they'll come in and they're tired, and so I'll ask them, well, tell me about your sleep. They may be getting 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, and that's just not enough. I mean, we really need at least 7 hours of sleep. And then for a lot of people, there's undetected sleep apnea. So if you snore, if you're overweight, you're probably snoring. Those are patients that really should have a screening for sleep apnea, because we know that people with untreated sleep apnea have low testosterone levels that can benefit with treatment, and same with even urinary issues. So sleep apnea is something that I've had to learn a lot more about as a urologist, and I am referring a lot of patients for that evaluation, more now than ever, as we try to address all the issues.
So eat better, get your exercise, and sleep.
Sleep. Yeah. Well, and see a doctor. I mean, that's the main problem is men are not seeing their doctor. I'm preaching to the choir here. You've been preaching about this for years, and we're hoping that everyone is listening and really, it's your life, it's your body. So until you really take that ownership on yourself, you're not going to be able to optimize your health to the fullest. My name is Jason Jameson, and it's time to drive for men's health.